Yeah, sure. We are happy making the semi-finals. We were very nervous at half-time. I think the first half, overall we were nervous going into this match playing against Japan with their home support and the way they played against Ireland and Scotland, and they were definitely building momentum. And we were sure with the home support they have, this was going to be a tough match. And then going in half-time, only being up a few points, and leaving a few tries out there, there was definitely a little bit of a lull and a quietness in our change room. But I think being together for 17 weeks, the guys knew which buttons to push to get ourselves out of that lull and come and produce it in the second half. So yeah, we're a bit proud of that. And now we're into the semi-finals and hopefully we can pull it through.
Okay, first question in the front.
Rassie, what was said at halftime? Did you have to use a few harsh words? Because it seemed like you guys had opportunities, but just forcing a pass here and there, whereas second half, the guys just seemed to be more composed.
Yeah, normally if guys miss tackles and you know, there's a lack of commitment and it's effort errors, then harsh words normally helps. But when it is, you know, a bad pass or you know, a missed opportunity or a skill error, then it's more trying to get the guys' confidence up. And I guess that was the challenge at halftime. And I think that's more where Siya and Dwayne and those guys really did well at halftime, because I don't think it was ever a lack of effort in the first half. It was more the pressure that Japan put on us with the amount of effort and tenacity and intensity that they put onto us in the first half. So I think we actually did really well in terms of intensity, but in terms of execution, we weren't that great. So yeah, it wasn't really harsh words. It was more trying to calm the guys down and trying to execute better. And I think the Siya and the boys really did the most of the talking and sorted that out.
Kevin?
Rassie, just your opponents next week had to dig quite deep today to win their game against France, and that's what playoff rugby is all about. So in a way, what I'm asking you, was it actually maybe good for you that Japan did push you so hard in that first half, because they gave you an examination and you had to dig deep and you had to be composed, and that's good in playoff rugby.
Yes, Kevin, I think so. I think if you think about it, I think we've conceded 3 tries now in World Cup, and I think 2 of those were against New Zealand in 4 minutes. Other one was against Canada. You know, so I think we haven't had long spells where we were under pressure. We were actually folded in terms of our defense. Although I know there's a lot of people that see a few holes in our defense, I think we trust our system really well, and we know defense is a pretty important thing as part of a World Cup if you want to try and win a World Cup. But we were certainly tested today, although we only conceded 3 points. And in the first game against Japan, you know, to concede only 10 points against Japan, who's really got a good track record in this World Cup and this World Cup in the Pacific Nations Cup, where they really scored a lot of tries. We've only conceded 10 points in 1 try and a penalty versus Japan. So we've got good confidence in our defense system, which is good. And we were really on a lot of pressure today against them. So yes, I think in that regard it's good, and especially with the pace of the game. The game was really played at a high pace, so that was good for a lot of players to get used to that. And then I guess Wales had the same kind of experience as well, or this afternoon. So yeah, I think next week will make for a really great matchup.
Okay, on the left. On the left.
Rassie, congrats. Wales up next. How much do you think you can benefit from your time in Ireland? Because obviously you know a lot of these players, you know the coaches. Yeah, I've got good hidings against Scarlets and those guys when I was coaching Munster, and some good wins against them as well. And a coach, yeah, so there was good memories as Munster coaches against some of the Welsh teams, and some bad memories as well. They are definitely
a team with a lot of X factor, but then again, the one thing that strikes me about them, I've coached twice against them with the Springboks. One was in Washington when we really played a mixed bag of a team because we had to juggle 2 squads before we played England. And then the other one was the out of competition window where we couldn't actually select overseas-based players. So I've never coached against a Welsh team where we could select all our first choice players which is available. So this will probably be the first time. But they've got a great coaching staff, and the thing about them, I think they've created a squad. If you look at them, I think when they toured Argentina last year, or the year before that, where they took almost a B side or a second string side over there, and they gave them a whitewash there. So I think they've created depth in every single position. And yeah, I think they've got good confidence, great team spirit, and we know how great the rugby culture is in Wales. So, no, a big challenge for us. And whenever I've coached for Munster against any Welsh team, it was never an easy game. So I'm not so sure if the individual knowledge about individuals would help me, but I think knowing the way the Welsh teams play might help me a little bit.
No, here, in the middle. Sorry, in the middle. Okay, question.
Rassie, bosses at the Japanese Union have said that they think the way for one potential way for Japanese rugby to move forward is to look at joining the Rugby Championship in the long term. Is that a conversation that, as a member of the Rugby Championship, is that a conversation that you'd welcome to be had at the top table in terms of developing rugby and opening it up a little bit more?
Yeah, I think I put on my director of rugby hat, which is also part of my job. It would be interesting. I think it would be a good debate to have. I think definitely the style of play they play would be something interesting. But then all the questions that will, and the scenarios and possible problems and or solutions and positive and negatives that will come out of that, I just wouldn't know that. I haven't been part of discussions around that. I haven't really put my thinking hat on. It looks like a nice proposition, but I'm not sure, is it logistically possible? You know, is it financially possible? You know, would it make sense broadcasting-wise, you know, travel-wise, those kind of things? I do know the brand they play is pretty exciting, and it would really fit in. So apart from that, I will be really stupid to comment because I'm not part of those discussions.
Okay, put your hand up in the middle. Here we are. Thank you.
NHK の山本と言います。監督とキャプテンそれぞれに質問があるんですが、まず監督は今日、どういうゲームプランでそもそもスタートしたのかということをお聞きしたいです。で、キャプテンはさっき監督がハーフタイムに選手同士で話したと言ってたんですが、どういうことを話したのか、どういうふうにチームを修正したのかというのを教えてください。
I'll take it first. Let me just put this a little bit softer. So our game plan was, without going into much detail, was when we went to a 6-2 split, we experienced Japan as a team which is a high-paced team, a fit team, a team that almost announce in the media and tell everybody how fast they want to play, and they've got a lot of fast wingers and the way they play the game with the Ferraris on the wing, and you know, they almost publish the way they want to play, so it's not a secret the way they want to play. So you must try and keep up with that and try and match that. So the way we selected our team selection was in a 6-2 split, which means 6 forwards and 2 backs. So we feel that Japan exploit your slower, tight forwards in the latter part of the first half, 20 to 40 minutes, and then the last 60 to 80 minutes in the second half, when your bigger props, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are tired, and then they find holes around them, and that's where they score all their tries. So our team selection was more, first of all, to physically try in the set phases, scrums, mauls, breakdown, and so on, to try and see how we can physically impose ourselves there. But then in the same breath, how we can contain their speed and individual Ferraris and all of those kind of things which I have with our slower players being fresh. So that was more or less our game plan, to try and nullify their speed and use our power, which sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. And then, Siya, what did you say at halftime?
Yeah, the message at halftime, it was just, let's be patient and trust in our plan. You know, our maul and scrumming were working, and obviously we didn't take our opportunities in the first half, but we didn't want to change anything but be more patient, especially when we get turnover ball, we hold on the ball. And I think it did work on our side, the mauling. You know, we got a mauling try. It wasn't really a mauling try, but the mauling worked, and Faf got his try from there. And our scrum gave us penalties that got us 3 points. And yeah, that was the main message, and positive chat throughout the game.
Question here.
Siya, can you describe the 10 minutes where you were one man down? Because it seemed that at this moment you were always on the back foot, but you kept believing and defending very hard. How fast was it at the special moment, and why did you manage to not consider try?
Yeah, so I was off that time, but I spoke to the guys while they were playing. They said that 10 minutes was really, there was a lot of heat happening, you know, the ball was moving fast. But I think the one thing that we pride ourselves in is our defense and our work rate and how hard we work for one another. And I think that's what came out in that 10 minutes. You know, we wanted to stay off rucks, but we still, you know, we were putting, if there was opportunity, we put our hands in there. But yeah, it was important. We knew what we needed to do, and we were men down, so we had to work a bit extra. And that's what Coach said earlier. We've been together for so long, and those kind of moments, that's when you pull together, the spirit comes together as a team. So that was one of those moments.
At the front.
Rassie, like bietjie gereiser. How much must the Boks improve to win the World Cup on tonight's performance?
How much was the Boks improved to win on tonight's performance? I think it varies. I think if you look at how New Zealand dismantled Ireland, and then New Zealand scored in 4 minutes against us 2 points. Up until the 25th minute, they were up 17-3, and then, you know, for the rest of the game, we scored all the points, you know. So we must find those pressure points when we get the opportunity. We must utilize them, and then don't get soft moments away. I think that's when we will have a real chance, and be consistent. I think that's the biggest work on for us. I think we do have the pack. I think we do have the backline players to go all the way. But I think in a game which is 80 minutes and let's say 38 minutes or 40 minutes ball and play, if you have 4 or 5 minutes ball and play where you drop your concentration, which we did against New Zealand, you get found out. And again, today there was 3 or 4 minutes where against Japan we always got caught out. So I guess we don't have to improve so much in the specific departments like in scrumming, lineouts, mauling, breakdown or something like that. It's more to try and concentrate for the full 80 minutes ball in play, 80 minutes of rugby. That's the way we should improve if we would want to try and win the World Cup.
Okay, with your final question, the gentleman in the middle. This will be the last question.
お二方にお伺いします。リザーブのフォワードの選手が出てきた時のインパクトというのはどういうふうに感じられたでしょうか。
Yeah, I think exactly what you asked from them. You know, they got width on defense to cut down the Ferrari's space, so that the Ferraris couldn't score the tries that they scored in the previous matches. So that was their main job, to get width and make positive hits. And then on our own ball, we expected them to scrum well, to maul well, to do the breakdown well, and get us some forward momentum. You know, the difference, it's a difficult thing, it's a fine balance. If you're a very fast running team, like Japan are, then there must be some areas where you sometimes maybe our under strengths like in mauls and scrums and so on. So we tried to exploit that, and we thought when our tight five came on, they exploited that really well. And I thought Japan exploited our weaknesses, which were their speedy game, really well. So yeah, I thought our tight five or our reserves, when they came on, did that for us really well.
For us as players, when the guys come on like that, you know, they come on with a lot of energy, which helps us who've been on the field for quite a while. And the chat is up, you know, they have to make sure they lift up throughout the game. And yeah, it's always important we work as hard as we can with both packs. And coach only has one message for us, is that as a starting team, go as hard as you can. And if you're tired in the first half, you get taken off. I mean, you can see there's no egos in our team. Even I get taken off early when I'm tired, so I give as best as I can. So yeah, that's our encouragement as a team, is to go as hard as you can. When you're tired, put your hand up, you're taken off, you know, so yeah.
Thank you, Rassie. Thank you, Siya.
Thanks.
The mix zone. Oh, yes, before we finish, Rassie.
Yeah, I just want to say to all the Japanese media, or all the media, and to the Japanese public, I know the World Cup's still going on for 2 weeks, and to the Japanese team, again, you can be proud of the way you're hosting this World Cup. You can be proud of the way your team performed to make the top 8 and to top your pool against Tier 1 nations, being Scotland and Ireland, and then perform the way they did against us today. We were nervous at halftime. When we had our discussion at halftime, it was a nervous one. We were nervous about the game. So overall, I think Japanese rugby is in a really good space. I think the way you support the game when we were on the field and when we were walking off the field, it is something new to us, the way you respect opposition and your own players. So we just would like to congratulate you players, your media, your supporters, and the organizational people who's involved here. It's for us a great honor to be part of this, and well done to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rassie. Thank you very much. The mix zone will open straight away, so if you want to go to the mix zone, go straight to the mix zone. It will open very shortly.